Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tangmen based on novel. So let's start. Their surroundings instantly went completely quiet. However, both Shusansha and Jiang Nanan's bodies began to change. After a moment, they were less adolescent, they'd returned to their 20-year-old selves. The bed was still the same bed from 5 years ago. However, their bodies and hearts were wound tighter than they had been 5 years ago at this moment. He wasn't going to enter the wrong hole this time. The black glow that signified the evolution of his martial soul surfaced once again. Outside of their room, the golden sun and silver moon seemed to arc together in a smile. A boundless prairie spread out before her, jade-green vines of blue-silver grass swaying in the gentle breeze. As they swayed, they seemed to endlessly extend. When Zhong Lishuan discovered herself in such a place, her eyes started to shine brightly. She had always loved this sort of boundless feeling. The endless green, the refreshing air, the bright sunlight, and the birds that occasionally flew by all left her in a pleasant mood. It was as if all her troubles were slowly slipping away, one breath at a time. Where is this? There was no such place on the continent in Zhong Lishuan's memory, or at least, not that she knew of. If this place was real, she believed that she would have already fallen in love with this place. What is love? A dull voice echoed through the air. This voice seemed to resonate from all directions, even the sky, as it did so. What is love? Zhong Lishuan was dazed as she lifted her head to peer into the sky. Afterwards, she gently shook her head. She'd never fallen in love. How could she know what love was? In her heart, there was only one person she was fond of. Love is about giving and devoting oneself. It's also about thoughtfulness, and having no regard towards anything else. The loud voice suddenly became gentle, as if it was a gentle breeze sweeping across her, comforting her soul. Love is selfish, possessive, and present everywhere. It's also the root of much pain. However, we cannot live without love. A life without love is incomplete. Do you understand? Zhong Lishuan laughed bitterly. I understand. However, how can I forget something deep within my bones? You'll forget everything as a reward. A gust of wind raged, causing leaves to billow upwards. Just like them, Zhong Lishuan's spirits were also lifted into the air. Bitingly cold mountains and gusts of wind. Ning Tian tried to keep her balance, as she let out a shriek of fear. She'd already broken out into a cold sweat. She was shocked to find that she'd appeared at the edge of a cliff, and that there was a deep valley in front of her. If she were to take even half a step forward, she'd disappear into the deep valley in front of her, never to return. There was a deep valley in front of her, but what about behind her? When she turned around, Ning Tian saw a bunch of mountains behind her. She was standing atop the peak of a mountain. Who are you? A deep voice echoed upwards from the valley. I'm Ning Tian. Ning Tian subconsciously replied. Who are you? The same question was posed to her again. I am Ning Tian from the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. I'm the next sect leader of the sect. As she stood atop the piercingly cold mountain peak, Ning Tian felt that her emotions had gone out of control for some reason. Thus, she shouted as loud as she could without regard for anything else. Her voice echoed far and wide and through the mountain range. Even after a long time had passed, it hadn't completely faded. You are under too much pressure. The deep voice echoed again. Are you willing to relieve this pressure? How do I do so? Ning Tian asked agonizingly. Ever since she'd been young, she'd been the lone daughter of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect master. The Seven Treasures Glazed sect had once met with a catastrophe 10,000 years ago, and been almost completely destroyed. After 10,000 years of development, it had finally re-established itself as the continent's top auxiliary type tool soul, and had once again become one of the strongest sects on the continent. However, Ning Tian had led a boring life as a direct female disciple. The only things she'd done throughout her life had been studying and cultivating. She'd then proceeded to enter Shrek Academy at the apex of this boring life. Originally, she'd been considered a chosen child of heaven, and had thought that she would be the best amongst those the same age as her. However, she soon came to know of Shrek Academy's golden generation. She met the unbeatable Wang Donga, the gifted Dai Huabin, Xia Huanyue, and finally Huo Yuhao, the strangest person, who had twin martial souls, immense spiritual power, and even ultimate ice. As she continued to mingle with them, she realized that she wasn't nearly as outstanding as she'd thought. Even though she was still extremely outstanding, her limelight had been completely stolen by the others. It was evident how tormented she felt. She had once tried to cultivate even harder. However, her martial soul was an auxiliary type. It was the 7 treasures glazed pagoda, which couldn't be used to fight directly. It was thus very difficult for her to cultivate. In fact, it was just as difficult for to cultivate as it was for Huo Yuhao to cultivate his ultimate ice. No matter how hard she'd tried, it didn't change the fact that an auxiliary type soul master couldn't exceed a battle soul master. When she saw that Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong'er, and Xiao Xiao were crowned champions along with their inner courtyard seniors in the last Continental Elite Advanced Soul Master Academy tournament, Ning Qian hadn't just been filled with envy, she'd also been filled with jealousy. And following that, she'd suddenly she couldn't possibly catch up to the rest of them, no matter how hard she tried. At that point, she'd thought of another possibility, which was the hope that her family had held for her. As a top-ranked auxiliary type sect, many strong soul masters often looked to the 7 treasures glazed sect for help. As one of the elites of the younger generation of soul masters, Ning Qian knew that she'd have to find a protector that would stay by her side one day. This person's strength wouldn't simply determine her future status in the sect and whether she could successfully take hold of the sect's reins, but it would also determine the future of the sect itself. That was why she'd chosen Huo Yuhao during the Sea God's fate. She'd chosen him because he was the most gifted, as well as most likely to be the strongest individual amongst the younger generation of soul masters in the future. However, she hadn't expected to fail. She'd lost, and lost tragically at that. She'd been as embarrassed as a little girl when she'd taken the initiative to express her love, but had still been met with rejection. When that rejection came, it had felt as if her heart was stabbed by tens of thousands of blades. It was extremely painful. She didn't really like Huo Yuhao very much. Rather, she just couldn't accept her failure. The blow dealt to her from this failure was simply too huge. For a period of time, she was completely despondent. At that point, only Wu Feng remained at her side. Wu Feng was angry with Huo Yuhao, and cultivated even more tirelessly than her. Yet, even when Ning Qian saw all of this, she still only treated Wu Feng as a sister. You can relieve all your pressure by jumping off of this cliff. The deep voice echoed yet again. It was asking her to die. Ning Qian was dazed by the voice. Jump off. Everything will be settled if I just jump off. Yes. What could be better than death to alleviate this pressure? What could be more exciting than death? Death? She laughed. Bring it on. A sharp gaze flashed through Ning Qian's eyes, before she pursed her lips. The huge pressure that she'd been facing was instantly converted into persistence that now drove her to leap off the cliff. With that, she flung herself off the edge in front of her. The moment that she leaped, she seemed to hear a tragic scream. No. Gusts of wind raged around her, becoming even colder as they swept past her. At this moment, Ning Qian felt as if her spirit had detached from her body. It was a magical feeling. The pressure she felt seemed to slowly disappear as she fell. I'm sorry, Wu Feng. If there's such a thing as another life, I'll become a man and will protect and take care of you. You'll be my wife. We'll run our family together, and I'll make sure to love and repay you for all of the love you've shown me all these years. Tears started to trail through the air above her. As they did, they formed pearl-shaped beads in the air. Even though she was in free fall, Ning Qian realized that the voice had been right. The pressure that she'd felt seemed to have vanished. At this moment, nothing seemed important to her anymore. Wu Feng stood upon the mountain peak, gazing down at the deep valley that Ning Qian had disappeared into. As she stared into the endless drifts of snow, her tears started to flow uncontrollably. Ning Qian, why did you do this? Why did you jump off the cliff? Why? She'd appeared on the other side of the mountain, and had then been given instructions to walk around. Right when she'd been about to arrive, she'd been greeted with the scene of Ning Qian leaping off the cliff. No matter how hard she tried, she hadn't been able to make it in time. She could only watch as Ning Qian disappeared into the valley below. Everything seemed to lose importance when she saw that. Wu Feng seemed to have lost her soul. She staggered, about to fall. Follow her. If you really love her, you should seek a new life with her. The voice echoed through the mountain valley. Wu Feng was shocked. She looked at the deep valley before her, before lifting her head to gaze at the sky and wail, Ning Qian, I'm coming. Yes. Since the person she loved was already gone, What was the point of her staying alive? The projection of a fire dragon grew behind her. This projection carried a sense of elegance and passion, before disappearing along with Wu Feng as she leaped off the cliff in pain and tears. Everything became silent and peaceful again afterwards, the mountains still as bitingly cold as ever. Where is this? Bei Bei was currently standing in the middle of a bustling street. Seeing this, he was quick to question his surroundings, as this place was unfamiliar to him. However, he'd been brought here after the golden lights flashed. Suddenly, a dim light flashed, and a figure silently appeared in front of him. Bei Bei. A voice softly asked. Eh? Bei Bei focused his gaze on the person. All he saw was a smiling, handsome face. He couldn't describe his feelings when he saw who it was. This person had long, flowing, sky-blue hair, while their azure eyes contained a gaze as deep and boundless as an ocean. He revealed a gentle smile on his face that made him seem very reliable. Follow me. The person slowly turned around. In just a single step, he'd already moved more than 10 meters forwards. Although Bei Bei didn't know what was happening, he was crystal clear that he was in an illusion of the yin-yang love-querying valley. He quickly followed the person that had just appeared. The man wasn't walking too fast or too slow, he was moving at a pace that he could follow comfortably. Oddly, the bystanders didn't seem to notice their rapid pace. Who exactly is this person? Bei Bei wondered as he moved. Finally, the man stopped outside a house. He pushed the door open before walking in. Bei Bei hurriedly followed him inside. The house's courtyard was very quiet. Everything about it seemed extraordinarily peaceful, too. Not even the sounds of birds or insects could be heard. The man led Bei Bei into the main hall of this house. After passing the central hall, they stepped into the backyard, and finally came to a room. The man signaled to Bei Bei and pointed at the room. Bei Bei subconsciously walked towards the room. The door was already open. When he peeked in, his body shook tremendously. Xiao Ya! Bei Bei shouted, before instantly charging into the room. Yes, there was a lady seated cross-legged on a bed inside this room. Her body was currently flashing with a bluish-black glow. Her hair flowed behind her back, while her expression was calm, albeit slightly pale. She was Tang Ya. Xiao Ya. Bei Bei charged towards her and lifted his hands to grab her shoulders. However, he grasped nothing but air. After a moment, Bei Bei was stunned to realize that his hands had gone straight through Tang Ya's body. Why? Why am I illusory? Xiao Ya. Bei Bei, who was normally calm and refined, started to experience an outpouring of emotions. He wanted to hug her. He wanted to hug her slender body, hold her in his embrace, and use his body heat to warm up her icy-cold body. Everything around him suddenly distorted slightly. Tang Ya gradually disappeared, followed by the house disappeared, and finally everything around him disappeared. After this, a huge pinkish flower with a refreshing floral scent entered Bei Bei's vision. This flower turned into a halo before dispersing. Following this, he saw a sparkling, crystal-clear blue ball take its place. It looked like it had an extension of crystals, yet seemed like it had leaves too. Everything around him turned illusory again. A strong wave of dizziness struck Bei Bei, and he lost consciousness. Oh? Why am I here? Wasn't this place already destroyed? He Kaitu was astonished as he looked around him. His surroundings were filled with metal. There was a metallic glow and smell, which helped him immediately recognize that this was the underground research institute of the illustrious Virtue Hall. Both he and Huo Yuhao had once spent a long time in this research institute. However, it was completely empty now. Come out, Shu He, a sinister voice echoed out. The moment he heard the words Shu He Kaitu shuddered. He unwillingly turned towards the direction of the voice. He saw Shu Qianran, who was slowly approaching him in his wheelchair. Shu Qianran wore an aloof expression on his face, and several masked men in black were following him. All of them revealed strong auras from their bodies. He Kaitu slowly stood up. At this moment, he was shockingly calm. Shu Qianran. Shu Qianran smiled and said, I bet you didn't expect this, right? Shu He, we're actually meeting under such circumstances. I didn't expect a bastard like you to survive. Today, we can truly catch up as brothers. How have you been all these years? As your elder brother, I really haven't taken care of you properly. He Kaitu gnashed his teeth and said, Shu Qianran, I'm going to kill you. As soon as he shouted, he seemed to forget that he was a soul engineer, and leapt straight towards Xu Qianran. Xu Qianran wore a scornful expression on his face. He lifted his hand and He Kai-Tu was flung into the air, crashing into a forging table behind him. When he landed, he was in excruciating pain, and couldn't even stand up anymore. You're going to take revenge by yourself. The entire Sun-Moon Empire is under my control now. Yes, a son should pay his father's debts, but that entails being capable of doing so first. My father was ruthless when he massacred your entire family. I can still clearly remember how he impaled your younger sister with his spear. The desperate, pitiful look in her eyes. However, what could you do? What could you do as her elder brother? Could you have saved her? You couldn't. You didn't have the capability, am I right? In fact, don't you think that living is more painful than death? You've been carrying this hatred for years. How tiring must your life be? It'd simply be best if you died. Everything will be over when you die. Your father was fatuous. He wanted to keep the earlier agreement, but wasn't willing to ramp up the development of soul tools by turning experimental products into weapons, nor start a war and get back what belonged to the Sun-Moon Empire. He wasn't fit to be emperor. Even though I'm not very satisfied that my old man has lived for so long, I have to admit that he's been successful. Replacing your father was the greatest achievement of his life, and it has cleared all the obstacles in front of me. The future of the Doluo continent belongs to me, Xu Qianran. It belongs to the Sun-Moon Empire. After I conquer this continent, I'll change its name to the Sun-Moon continent. I want the words Doluo continent to completely vanish from this world. The more Xu Qianran spoke, the more fanatical he became. He seemed exactly like an evil villain as he sat there. He Kai-Tu struggled up from the ground, his eyes already completely red. The hatred that he'd always been suppressing had been entirely unleashed at this moment. He let out a bestial roar of anger, before charging towards Xu Qianran again like a mad tiger. Xu Qianran wasn't bothered by this at all. He lifted his hand once again, and flung him back once more. Die. Dying will end everything. It's a pity that you won't get to see how prosperous the Sun-Moon continent will be in the future. When you reach the afterlife, remember to tell your dead father that a ruler that doesn't know how to invade isn't fit to be won. Ask him to repent over there. He Kai-Tu was under immense pressure right now, but a voice suddenly screamed, "No. I won't let you hurt him," and a tender figure suddenly appeared in front of him. He Kai-Tu saw 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 black and 1 red soul ring, which were extremely dazzling. Xiao Xiao, when did Xiao Xiao become a titled Doluo? Right now, Xiao Xiao seemed to have grown up, and her figure had become more slender. She seemed to have a greater heroic aura, and more mature elegance about her right now. As soon as she lifted her right hand, a beam of blinding, dark golden light descended from the sky. Suddenly, everything started to tremble. The beam of dark golden light was akin to extremely huge meteor that struck Xu Qianran and the masked men behind him. Boom! The beam of light exploded with earth-shattering power. The terrifying explosion turned everything around it into powder. The illustrious Virtue Hall disappeared. Everything disappeared. The only thing left was a huge depression left, as well as the tragic screams left behind by Xu Qianran and the masked men. He Kai-Tu was dazed as he looked at Xiao Xiao. The physical pain that he felt seemed to have disappeared. By the time he crawled up, she'd already turned around. Kai-Tu. Tears streamed down her face, sparkling beneath the illumination of her soul rings. Why were you so silly? Why didn't you tell me about the hatred in your heart? Why didn't you let me share your burden? Am I not your woman? Xiao Xiao. Fool. Even though you aren't handsome or romantic, I never despised you for anything when I decided to get together with you. Kai-Tu, you idiot. In the future, you have to share your pain with me, no matter what. Your enemy will be my enemy. Xiao Xiao had already leapt into He Kai-Tu's embrace as she spoke. She hugged his muscular body tightly. Tears flowed uncontrollably down He Kai-Tu's face. Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao. Gusts of chilly wind blew as snowflakes drifted in the air. It was completely white everywhere. Snow fluttered through the air, and the ground was completely frozen. Located at the top of a mountain, there was less than 200 square meters of available surface area. There was a thick layer of snow on the ground. Not only was it cold, but it was also very tough. There were 2 identical-looking people on the mountain peak right now. Their eyes and hair were powdery blue, and they were both extremely ravishing. Where is this? Wang Donga was a little confused as she looked at Wang Chua opposite her. Wang Chua seemed to have sensed something. She looked very stern as she scanned their surroundings. This is the location of your sincerity adventure, a final fight on the summit of this icy peak. Huo Yuhao will go to whoever wins. An aloof-sounding voice echoed in the air. Wang Donga straightened her gaze. Can matters of the heart truly be settled through violence? It's the best way to resolve things. The two of you look the same, and are equally outstanding. However, only one of you can be with him. The survivor will have the right to remain with him, he won't know what happened. Today, only one of you can leave here alive. There are countless icy mountains around you. If neither of you dies, you will both remain here forever. Wang Donga and Wang Chua moved at the same time. They didn't charge towards each other. Rather, they turned around and rushed towards the edge of the icy peak they were on to look down. Even with her cold character, Wang Chua's expression changed drastically as she gazed down. They were on a freestanding icy peak. There was only a deep valley beneath, the depth of which couldn't be determined. Gusts of chilly wind continuously blew upwards. Even as she glanced downwards, Wang Chua could feel her body turning stiff. Yes, this was a forbidden zone. It was a forbidden zone with no escape. Compared to Wang Chua, Wang Donga seemed very calm once she glanced down. She slowly walked towards Wang Chua and sat down in the middle of the ice peak. Chua, let's talk. Wang Donga gestured to Wang Chua. Wang Chua regained her cold and serious look and sat down 5 meters in front of Wang Donga. What do you want to talk about? About how much he loves you, she asked coldly. Wang Donga shook her head and said, not him. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about this place, about the yin-yang love-querying valley. Wang Chua's eyes brightened and she said mockingly, indeed. There's no need to talk about him. You're always the winner to him. What else is there to talk about? Even if I were to kill you now, would he ever fall in love with me? No. Even though I haven't spent as much time with him compared to you, I'm certain that he won't be with me even after you die. Wang Donga furrowed her brow. Chua, what's wrong? Wang Chua shook her head. I'm fine. Wang Donga lifted her head to look at the sky and breathed in the refreshing air. We won't be in danger. While this place is supposed to be filled with death, it is in fact filled with compassion. If you are sincere, you won't be punished. Here's my heaven. These 3 simple words dealt a huge blow to Wang Chua. She stared at Wang Donga dazedly, not responding for some time. Wang Donga felt a little weird as she looked back. Am I wrong? Wang Chua's gaze suddenly turned gentle. Perhaps you're right. This is probably also the reason why I'll never be able to compare to you in his heart. Wang Donga shook her head and said, I don't think so. The difference between us is only the time that we met. I simply met him first, thus I managed to occupy a spot in his heart. Else, you definitely would have been capable of gaining his attraction, given your talents. If you couldn't, he wouldn't be a normal man. When she said this, Wang Donga couldn't help but laugh. As she gazed at the identical yet more cold-looking face in front of her, Wang Donga was in a weirdly peaceful mood. Wang Chua mocked herself. No, you don't understand. In fact, I'd already lost at the start, and lost terribly at that. I can't compare to you no matter what. Wang Donga was stunned. Sister Chua, I would have thought you were my long-lost sister if not for the fact that I know I'm the only child in my family. We simply look too alike. Wang Chua suddenly became agitated. Maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe I shouldn't have done what I did from the start. But, if I'd met him earlier, before you revealed your identity to him, I truly might have had a glimmer of hope. Wang Donga was confused. Sister Chua, why can't I understand what you're trying to say? Wang Chua silently shook her head and continued to speak to herself. In fact, it's also because I've never understood my own heart. It'd be great if I did. Or perhaps I shouldn't have gone out to find him. I'm wrong. I've always been wrong. Wang Donga stopped speaking, and only listened to her speak silently. Are you confused by what I'm saying? Wang Chua laughed, her laughter carrying a weird, sarcastic tone. However, she was being sarcastic to herself. Wang Donga nodded slightly. Wang Chua chortled and said, there aren't any coincidences in this world. Do you really think that we'd look so alike if our blood didn't come from the same origin? Don't you think that I look quite like the goddess of light he holds in his heart? Wang Dong'er was dazed. Sister Chua, what do you mean? Wang Chua said, my looks came from you. Or rather, it came from the projection of you that is imprinted the deepest in his heart, and which he was filled with love towards. That's the reason why I transformed myself into this appearance and appeared in front of him. However, I didn't expect that your so-called elder sister was false, it was actually you. This projection in his heart was actually a representation of you when you grew older. Wang Dong'er finally couldn't remain seated anymore. She suddenly stood up and stared at Wang Chua, stunned. Chua, what are you talking about? Are your looks real or fake? Wang Chua's grin grew wider and wider as she said, you've doubted me for a long time, am I right? Truthfully, they aren't really fake. They are quite real. The only thing I've done is establish this identity. Do you know why I'm telling you all this? It's because I suddenly feel like being selfish for once. Today, only one of us can live to see him again. If I can kill you, I might just have a chance, however small it may be, with him. I can still convince him to accept me through my hard work. However, if I don't do this, I won't have a chance at all. I'm sorry, Dong'er. I've only ever loved him in my life. The moment I fell in love with him was when he disregarded everything and swallowed the scorching water from the blazing sun spring. Did you know that he almost died after he plucked that yearning heartbroken grass for you? I saved him because there was another yearning heartbroken grass nearby that I plucked for him. I fed it to him. If I hadn't, he wouldn't have been able to return alive to see you again. When I plucked that yearning heartbroken grass for him, I realized that I'd fallen deeply, hopelessly in love with him. Love is a selfish and possessive thing. He died for you in his past life. The life that he has now was given to him by the yearning heartbroken grass that I plucked. He should belong to me. I love him, I really do love him. Wang Chua's smile turned into tears. She continued to sit where she was, but tears had already filled her face. Wang Dong'er was silent as she saw Wang Chua tears. However, there wasn't any shock or hostility in her eyes. She gently lowered her waist and bowed to Wang Chua. Chua, thank you. Thank you for letting Yuhao survive. If not for you, he would have died for me. I can sense your love for him, it's very sincere. However, I have the same amount of passion and love for him. You're right. Or rather, this yin-yang love querying valley is right. Of the two of us, only one can remain together with him. No matter who wins or loses, I believe that we'll both still treat him well and love him well. Chua, I only have one request. If you win, and if you can, please transform into me to continue loving him. I don't want him to mourn my death. Can you do so? Wang Chua's tears suddenly stopped flowing, and she shook her head silently. My transformation is final. I can only do it once. Moreover, you are you, and I am me. You are Wang Dong'er, and I am Wang Chua. I want him to love me. Wang Dong'er asked, then, if I die, don't tell him how I died. Just tell him that I went missing. In this way, at least he'll still find some repose in his heart. In the future, you must love him and slowly transfer his love for me to yourself. Wang Chua opened her eyes wide, her pupils dilating. She roared, why are you saying all of this? Are you trying to make my determination waver? Dream on. As she spoke, she sprung up from the ground. Her golden dragon spear instantly appeared in her hand, turning into a streak of golden light as it pierced towards Wang Dong'er. Her spear seemed to be surrounded by countless golden snakes and formed a huge golden dragon, its dominant aura seeming to pierce through the heavens and the earth. Suddenly, everything around it turned dim. This spear seemed to encompass all of Wang Chua's internal rage and persistence towards her love. A dazzling glow shone from Wang Dong'er's back. She pointed her toes slightly towards the ground, before she drifted into the air. The wings of the goddess of light opened up and propelled her backward, as if she was sliding on water. Yellow, purple, purple, black, black, black. 6 soul rings began to shine. Her second soul ring shone the brightest, and countless streaks from her light of the butterfly goddess were released from her butterfly wings to strike the golden dragon that was coming towards her. Tremendous booms shook the air. Wang Dong'er retreated as Wang Chua pointed her spear at her while pursuing her. In the blink of an eye, Wang Dong'er had already been forced to one edge of the icy peak. Suddenly, Wang Dong's body sank down and the lights behind her were retracted. Instead, a pitch-black hammer appeared in her hand. Followed by a piercing sound, Wang Qiu's spear revealed its form. However, the strength of the hammer wasn't enough to force it away completely. It was only knocked away from Wang Dong's torso. Bloody light appeared as the spear stabbed Wang Dong's left arm, piercing it. Suddenly, the terrifying life-devouring ability of the golden dragon spear was fully activated. However, golden halos shone from Wang Dong's left arm. It was the power of the golden light left arm bone, which kept the spear from devouring Wang Dong's life energy. However, Wang Dong's arm still rapidly lost color. Why? Wang Qiu's gaze was sharp as she stared ruthlessly at Wang Dong. She knew that she couldn't hurt Wang Dong with this one strike given her abilities. Even if there was a gap between them, it wasn't huge. Although Wang Dong didn't have an ultimate martial soul, she had twin martial souls. In terms of cultivation, she wasn't much inferior either. Wang Dong smiled slightly. Take this strike as repayment for saving Yuhao. However, don't worry, I won't give up on this fight. On the contrary, I'm still going to fight for my happiness. After suffering from this strike, I feel more at ease fighting for my happiness. Come on, Qiu. Show me the best you've got. As she spoke, Wang Dong's eyes brightened. Her powder blue eyes turned completely blue, and her clear sky hammer disappeared. Once again, the wings of her butterfly goddess appeared. Following this, she turned into a streak of bluish gold light and rose into the air. Wang Qiu only felt her spear tremble slightly before Wang Dong had freed herself from it. Following this, a streak of bluish gold light shot up into the sky. It was Wang Dong's sixth soul skill, the butterfly goddess dance. Wang Dong had once used it against Yang Feng. Even though he was a soul sage and a bone dragon, he'd almost been defeated by her butterfly goddess dance. This time, Wang Dong was using it at the beginning of the fight. Qiu, be careful. I won't show mercy. Wang Dong's voice suddenly echoed out. This video will end here.